Hello and welcome to Plus Sports on Plus TV Africa. It's Wednesday, and this is the station where the sports news never stops coming at you. We know you love the game. We know you love all kinds of sports. So we give you variety every day so you know what's going on around the world. Right now, of course, the Beijing Olympics is taking on most of the attention, but it's not sucking up all the air in the room. Of course, there's still football to talk about, and the outcomes of the AFCON that just recently concluded is still very much in the air. Yeah, Sadio Mane has not yet returned to Liverpool. I'm sure they're missing him deeply, and they will be hoping he returns very soon. And so we'll start with that as President Macky Sall of Senegal on Tuesday, February 8, awarded the special cash prize, prime real estate, and the country's highest order to the men's football team as the country continued to celebrate their victory in the Africa Cup of Nations final against Egypt. Senegal's first win of the coveted trophy, it has been chasing for 60 years, has led to an outpouring of joy and celebration since the 4-2 triumph in the penalty kickout. Sall awarded the players Senegal's highest order, making them grand officers of the National Order of the Lion. Hundreds lined the surrounding avenues and streets of the presidential palace in downtown Dakar on Tuesday evening for a reception to thank the players. I have with me Sheon Ajidagba to speak on this story. Welcome, Sheon. I really wanted to talk about this story because, we've talked in the past about all the things that our structure is failing to do for our players, to even live up to promises that previous administrations make and don't even deliver during their time, and then it carries on for years, decades, but in this instance, granted, it's their very first Nations Cup win. So maybe the feeling is still very new for them. There's still a lot of energy to reward these players. But still, it reminds me, and I'm sure it reminds the audience at home, that oftentimes we fail at living up to the promises we make to these players.
We always say success has many children, but failure is like an orphan. You cannot begrudge what is happening to Senegal as we speak. This is a country that has longed for this for 60 years. This is their first African Cup of Nations title. And this was like a make or mark for them. They look like the Ivorian team of 2015 that a lot of people were saying, if they don't win it, then they are a useless generation. When you have all those star-studded players, the Yaya Toure, the Kolo Toure, the Drogbas, and all of them. And so this, for me, was huge in the eyes of the Senegal president, Macky Sall, who was to be in Ethiopia and decided to just cancel it to honor the team. You saw the raucous crowd that came to meet this team. It was huge. It was emotional. And like I said, you cannot begrudge what is happening to those players. Look at what they got. From land to money to honors. It was actually huge.
We talk about these athletes needing to represent their country, their nation, for the joy of being patriotic, for the joy of knowing that millions of fans are looking to them as role models, looking to them as the representation of the best of the nation. That, we argue, should be enough. But it's also good because no matter how good you do, good needs to be rewarded. People like to hear a thank you every now and then. People like to know that they are appreciated. When we fail to appreciate our athletes, our footballers, whether they are able-bodied or they are disabled, When we fail to live up to the promises, how can we push the same narrative that sports is an avenue for growth, success, and an escape from poverty?
You know, so for people like Sadio Mane, who are playing for Liverpool, or it is Ghana Gueye, who is playing for PSG, or maybe Cheku Kuyate, who is playing for Crystal Palace, and Khalid Koulibaly playing for Napoli, and maybe their goalkeeper Edouard Mendy for Chelsea. This is huge in the eyes of some of these home-based players that Ali Cisse picked. You know, a colorful ceremony, and you are receiving $87,000 US, 200 square meter plots of land in Dakar. That's the capital. 500 square meter plots in the city nearby, which is Viamiadio. You cannot exhaust all these things. You know, like you always say, lands are assets for life. Money might finish. But again, I don't expect this kind of money to finish if you put it into judicious use. There's no way you will not be made for life.
You know, you mentioned
that you will never even go into begging anymore.
Sheil, you mentioned, sorry to cut you off. Sheil, sorry to cut you off. You mentioned something very important about this story. Homegrown players. Obviously, a lot of players are not going to get to make it to Europe. So they're going to have to rely on the wealth that they can build in their home countries while representing their nation. We've been talking a lot on this show about the Nigerian setup in taking more time to include homegrown players. Pat, I wonder if the reason why a lot of that hasn't been implemented is because the government knows that these homegrown players will be in the same dressing room with players that are from Europe who are earning high wages, and they cannot, shall I say, bring them closer in terms of financial packages and rewards for their efforts while representing the nation.
Like I said, this is like a drop in the ocean for somebody like a Sadio Mane and all these other players that are playing in top European clubs. But for these home-based players, they will never forget this memory. You saw one player after they won, and he was weeping profusely. He was weeping uncontrollably. And people were like, what is wrong with this person? He just won. But his brain has still not processed that they have won the African Cup of Nations. After all the talk, after all the abuse, after all the bashing, finally they have something that they can hold on to. So for them, it's huge. And the honor that they got, they will never forget in their life. You saw they were almost going to be ambushed. No way to pass for the motorcade. Everybody thronged the street to give them a rousing welcome. President had to cancel a trip to Ethiopia to welcome them. And he said it before they left. After meeting out of 2019 to Algeria, go and win this one. And it has been a long time coming, especially for somebody like Ali Cisse, who has beat the Nations Cup before and also set a record for Senegal Lions as the team in Africa to get to the quarterfinal alongside Cameroon. So they needed to win this one. And so when they are talking about people who have won the African Cup of Nations, they will be mentioned. And I forgot to tell you, because going into that final, it was a typical scenario of what happened in Abu Dhabi. That's for Formula One. The only difference was that this did not end in any controversy. It was fair and square. Egypt were looking to set a record. 8 African Cup of Nations titles.
All right, let's move on to Europe, where new Everton manager Frank Lampard, who has begun his reign in the blue half of Liverpool with a loss. However, the former Chelsea and Derby manager is already looking ahead as he insists his focus is only on his struggling side's next Premier League match against Leeds. The Toffees slipped towards the relegation zone following a 3-1 defeat at Newcastle and made a critical fixture with face a critical fixture with Marcelo Bielsa's Leeds on Saturday. Everton are 3 points outside of the bottom three and could move above Leeds into 15th with victory at Goodison Park. Lampard was encouraged by the displays of new additions Dele Alli and Donny van der Beek, and wants his players to show the same levels as last weekend's FA Cup win over Brentford. Frank Lampard is and was a unifying choice for both fans and board in deciding the next manager for Everton. The board were willing to go in a different direction, but the fans made it clear Lampard was their first choice, and there was a clear rebellion going on amongst them. Now at this point where the relegation zone is within sight and Everton are trying to pull in the same direction, it makes sense to go for the choice that both the fans want and the board thinks is competent. However, Sean, is Lampard up to the task of trying to prevent Everton from going down?
Turns out. That magical bounce didn't even last at all. After that contest Brentford in the English FA Cup, a lot of people were saying they've turned the corner around, and so the Merseyside mess that was caused by Rafa Benitez is all over. But we saw a different Everton yesterday, and it showed that Newcastle wanted it the most. And to think that Newcastle are out of relegation, they have jumped into 70 position, and now Everton that they beat are just 1 point ahead of them. It means things can still turn out for Eddie Howe.
You know,
it was not a good story at all for Everton.
Is it likely that it's just the fact that Eddie Howe, given the winter transfer window that has just closed, the length of time he has been at the club now, he has had more time, because everyone thinks the new bounce is the way to determine the progress of a new manager at a club. But sometimes you do have to put in the work. And Eddie Howe, in his first few games, did not have great results. Is it too soon? Isn't it too soon to be writing off Lampard in regards to the responsibilities he faces at Everton, keeping them up?
Never. That would be an unfair judgment, unfair assessment. For Newcastle, they still have 14 more matches before the completion of the season, and what they are trying to avoid is a situation where the richest club in the world, I say it with my full chest, don't want to be played in the championship.
No one.
That would be disastrous. Yes, they have not done the business that you expect of a team. The guys that they still brought in are not the guys that I was expecting. Yes, Kieran Trippier scored yesterday off a lovely free kick. They brought him as target. They brought in Chris Wood from Burnley, and like that. But it's not that quality that you still need. We just hope Eddie Howe can sustain them, and maybe they will do a better business when the season is about to start.
All right,
but as we speak, we still early days to castigate any manager.
All right, let's move on to a former Everton manager this time, David Moyes, who has defended his decision to pick Kurt Zouma in West Ham's 1-0 win over Watford, claiming he had to pick his best team. A video on social media emerged on Monday night of Zouma kicking and punching his cat, sparking anger from the public. Despite West Ham condemning the actions of the defender, though, Zouma played all 90 minutes in the win over Watford. Moyes, who described himself as an animal lover, explained how everyone was very disappointed by the video and that the club are continuing to work on the matter. Regardless of how you feel about Kurt Zouma's actions, is David Moyes right? Should this whole scandal, should it affect whether he picks Zouma for playing time or not?
You know, some of these people are very funny. Much as I would not allow anyone to disrespect human beings or disrespect animals, you want to joke about it, they say, nobody getting cat. And we don't know what the cat has done. But like you say, it's not allowed. In sport and exercise psychology, we always say that you hate the game, you don't hate the player, because you need the player to achieve results in the game. If Zouma is a good player and is instrumental to your vision of playing in either the Champions League or Europa League or UEFA Conference League, hey, use it. And you have an internal way of dealing with him for the actions against his card. You don't drop a good player that has done well, because I see that he has formed a formidable partnership with Ogbonna in the heart of the defense. So let the other issues sort itself out. But the truth of the matter is, Zouma has shown that he's a fantastic and a quality addition to David Moyes.
Now,
no wonder they are in fourth position ahead of Manchester United.
Sean, I want to move to a story that is more that we want to talk about with more regularity on this show, the cricket. Australia needed a more collaborative new style of coaching, Captain Pat Cummins said on Wednesday, February 9th, in his first public comments since the departure of former national team coach Justin Langer. In the wake of Langer's resignation on Saturday, February 5th, Cummins and his team have been lambasted by several retired players for not publicly supporting the coach. Langer left after a nearly 4-year reign that was widely seen as instilling integrity and discipline in a team that had been disgraced by a ball tampering scandal against South Africa in 2018. His tenure culminated in a 4-0 beating of England in the Ashes series that ended last month. According to Cummins, Australian players gave CA feedback over a 2-year process that a new coaching style was needed after the excellent foundation provided by Langer. After so much success, after bringing back what is perceived as a period of greater integrity and discipline in a team that had gone off the rails and started to even disgrace themselves, disgrace the sport, what went wrong, Sean?
This actually came with a price. The head coach of England, Steve was sacked, and they appointed for Hollywood on a interim basis. Now, Justin Langer, who was acquired in 2018, after the incident that happened in South Africa, the ball tampering scandal, the one we call sandpaper deal, he ensured that the World T20 World Cup for the first time in their history, after beating New Zealand in the final. He also ensured that the dismantled, destroyed, battered, and animated England in the Ashes series, which is the most elevated transfer scale ever. He said some senior players were not listening to instructions, and he stands on the truth, and he stands on discipline. And so if he's not getting the backing from Cricket Australia, he decided to just stand down. Yes, his contract was going to expire in June, but they said they were going to give him a short-term contract. And he said no, he doesn't want. But based on his performance, I listened to Andrew South, who is like the head of selector in England, saying they might acquire David of Justin Langer.
Well, obviously he is a very capable coach, very technically focused, and also knows how to get the best out of players, knows how to get focus out of them. So it's kind of upsetting to know that you can be this good at your job and your own players start talking about your skill set not being conducive to theirs. I mean, if you're doing well, even as a player and you disagree with the manager, if you're doing well, if you're getting to play, I don't see the point in letting such a wonderful, such a capable coach leave. Regardless, Sean, thank you for joining us today. It's always a pleasure having you go through these stories and dissect them with us. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you because you are a brother and a friend, and that God will enlarge your things beyond your imagination. And to all the crew at Plus Sports and PlusTvAfrica, I love you guys so much.
Thank you, Sharon. Have a wonderful day, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.
It's been a wonderful period of dissecting and examining a lot of these stories, but there's still one more I want to leave you with. It's a tennis story and a little bit sad to think of. I am Mikhail Tinubu. Unfortunately, the sports Plus Sports has to go. But before I go, I say to you, never forget, life is never boring with some sports. I leave you with Joan Petro.